Let's get started with lesson 6.2, which is graphing quadratic functions. This is related to exactly what we did last class with lesson 6.1, except now when I say sketch the graph, I actually mean plot the points. And you're going to want to make sure that you plot 5 points, right? You'll have the vertex and then 4 other points. Let's go ahead and take these notes. So step 1 is to find the AOS. Step 2 is to find the vertex, which we've done. Step 3 is to put the vertex in the middle of the table and fill in the values. So this is new. Step 4 is plot the points to create the parabola. Step 5 is to identify domain and range. Yes, we are going back to unit 2. We are connecting it back to domain and range. So go ahead and pause this. You can take the notes. Let's go ahead and try problem number 1. So our first step is to find the AOS. So let's do that. Our x equals -0 over 2a. So we get a 0. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and find y. Y is equal to, well, 0 in parentheses squared, which gets me 0. Right now, that means my vertex is 0, 0, and I'm actually going to put it in the middle of my table. I believe you guys should have arrows on yours that show you where to put the vertex. I won't always give you a table, and I won't always put those arrows there, right? You can create tables for whatever you want. You are more than welcome to do that. Since we found our axis of symmetry is 0, we know that's right along the y-axis. I'm going to draw my dotted line here. Right, we're used to that. And then we're going to draw and plot our vertex. Our vertex is the origin, so okay, great. From here, this is where you want to count up and count down. After 0 is a 1 and a 2. Before 0 is a -1 and a -2. The beautiful part about this is you do not have to solve every single one. Because the vertex acts as the middle point, right, where it's going to be symmetrical, as you can see from the graph, these 2 points are going to have the same y-coordinates. These 2 points are going to have the same y-coordinates. And as we said before, if you have an x, you can find out what y is. So let's say your x is a 1. So you get y equals 1 squared, which gives me 1. Okay, that means this is a 1, which means this is also a 1. And then we get y equals 2 squared, which gives me a 4. This is a 4, which means this is also a 4. Now I'm going to go ahead and plot those points. So I have a -1, 1. I have a 1, 1. I have a 2, 4, and I have a -2, 4. As you guys can see here, it's showing you that this line, it's showing it's symmetrical, right? This is 1 away from here. This is 2 away from here. And you're now going to connect those points. So instead of sketching it, we actually have points to do this with. And make sure you plot your, you draw your line for your AOS. You don't lose any points here. Now our last step is to do the domain and range. I know you might be dreading it. So let's zoom in here. Our domain, until you get to algebra 2, your domain is going to be infinite. Right, here's our vertex. Here's that. I'm just highlighting the parts that it wanted us to, since it wanted that AOS, vertex, domain, and range, and then the graph. Don't forget that your vertex has parentheses right around them, so make sure if you write the vertex, you make sure you put 0, 0 for the vertex, and you can label it, of course, as well. Now for the range, you want to look at the y-coordinate of the vertex. In this case, it's 0, right? But it's also, it stops here, meaning it's not going to be anything below here, meaning it has to be greater than 0. So our answer is y is greater than or equal to 0. Don't worry, we're going to try that again where all the answers aren't just 0. So let's go ahead and try number 2. Step 1 is to find the AOS. So AOS, x equals negative b over 2 a, which is right here. So x equals negative 2 over 2. My x is equal to negative 1. I just found my AOS. So I'm going to go and put in my axis of symmetry onto my graph. I put it in on the table as well, right? So my vertex is going to be negative 1 comma something. I'm going to substitute it, so I have a negative 1 here squared plus 2 times negative 1. Make sure you put those parentheses so you do not make an error. So I get a 1 minus 2 minus 1, which gives me a negative 1 minus 1, which gives me a negative 2. That means my vertex, oops, I put 2, is a negative 2. I can plot this point, negative 1 comma negative 2 here. Great. If you want to do your domain and range now, you can. You know that your domain is going to be infinite, and your range, well, it's opening up, right? So it's everything above the vertex. So it's going to be y is greater than or equal to, as we said, it's the y coordinate of the vertex, negative 2. So this domain and range is a little bit easier because you have reference points. So if I go up from negative 1, I get a 0, I get a 1. If I go down, I get a negative 2, negative 3. Again, these two will be the same, and these two will be the same. Let's go ahead and calculate it. So I get y equals, I'm going to put 0 in, plus 2 times 0 minus 1. So I get a 0 plus 0 minus 1, which gives me a negative 1. So these two are the same. Okay, let's plot it again. Let's do a 1. Y squared, y equals 1 squared plus 2 times 1 minus 1. So 1 plus 2 minus 1, 3 minus 1, 2. Oops, did I plot that right? Yes, I plot that right. Okay, and then I draw my line, my parabola here, and there we go. So none of this is new except applying different things, right? We're finding the vertex, which we practiced in 6.1. We're doing domain and range, which is from unit 2. We're substituting in x so that we can find y, which is from units 1 and 3 and pre-algebra. And we're plotting points, which we've been doing since 6th grade. Go ahead and continue to practice. I'm going to show you the answers to the next one, so if you want, go ahead and pause the video so then I can show you the answers. Here are the answers. So if you want to pause the video as you check them, you can check them. Make sure, again, that you are plotting 5 points. So that is lesson 6.2. Again, you can try with the next page because if you put in the standard form, you'll notice pieces of information are missing. So just be careful, especially when you get problems like that, when pieces of information are missing. For those that are missing, I'm going to show the answers. You can check them. Those are those 2 answers. So go ahead and continue to practice.